In today's bell ringer, you were asked to determine whether the following numbers are rational or irrational. The first number listed is an irrational number. An irrational number is one that is a non-terminating and non-repeating decimal. The second one is a rational number. Specifically, it is an integer. Negative 13 can be written as a fraction, negative 13 over 1, meaning it is a rational number. Our next number, negative 8.123, and so on, is a rational number because it is a repeating decimal. All repeating decimals are rational. And our last one, 3.12, and so on, is an irrational number. While it has a pattern, it does not continue the same pattern of blocks identically. On our second bell ringer, the temperature of chicken soup is 192.7 degrees. As it cools, the temperature of the soup decreases 2.3 degrees per minute. What is the temperature of the soup after 25 minutes? First thing we want to do on this problem is find the change in the temperature. We know that the temperature is going to decrease 2.3 degrees per minute, and we're going to do this for 25 minutes. So we want to multiply by 25. So negative 2.3 times 25 is equal to negative 57.5. This tells us that the soup temperature is going to decrease 57.5 degrees. We want to know the final temperature of the soup after these 25 minutes. So in order to do that, we are going to take our starting point of 192.7 degrees and subtract the 57.5 degrees in order to decrease the temperature. And in doing so, we find out that our temperature with 192.7 minus 57.5 is 135.2 degrees. I hope you're noticing that with your bell ringers, you're getting review material over past skills. And in the future, we're going to be going back and looking at the skills that we learned in 6th grade so that you are better off and ready for the material that we hit in 7th grade. Our new unit is going to be over unit rates and proportional relationships. We are going to start out looking at the first 2 lessons of our textbook, 2.1 and 2.2, over unit rates. A unit rate is used to describe the amount for 1. In a unit rate, the denominator is 1. You may see words like for every or per. These are telling you that you are dealing with a rate. And if following the for every and per is referencing 1, you are specifically talking about a unit rate. Miles per hour, feet per second, cost per pound. These are all unit rates. And as we work through these problems, when you see these words, they're also going to be identifying to you the order in which you need to divide your answers. Because as we find a unit rate, we are going to be dividing. We divide to find for 1. Let's start with question 4 in our textbook. Crystal is comparing 2 internet saving service plans. Plan 1 costs $34.99 per month. This would be considered a unit rate. Plan 2 costs $134.97 every 3 months. This is a rate, but not a unit rate, because it doesn't tell us for 1. If Crystal plans to stay with one service plan for 1 year, which should she choose, and how much will she save? You're going to find that there are many different ways to solve the problems in this chapter, and that is okay, as long as what you do makes sense. First thing, in order to figure out which one she needs to choose, we need to figure out which one is cheapest. But the first plan tells us per month. The second plan tells us every 3 months. It's not giving us a price for the same amount of time. So let's find for the full year. In order to do that, let's take plan number 1 If it's $34.99 for 1 month, we can multiply it by 12 to find out the cost of 12 months. So $34.99 times 12 tells us that Plan 1 would cost Crystal $419.88 per year. But then we have Plan 2. Plan 2 costs $134.97 every 3 months. Since there's 12 months in a year, we would multiply this amount by 4. So $134.97 times 4 gives us a total of $539.88 per year. I have each of these set as a unit rate for a year. And by looking at this, we can see that Plan 1 is the cheaper of the two plans. But the rest of my question goes on asking, how much will she save? This is where we need to subtract our values. $539.88 minus $419.88 tells us that Crystal can save $120 per year if she chooses the less expensive plan. Question number 5. Pam reads 126 pages of her summer reading book in 3 hours. Zach reads 180 pages of his summer reading book in 4 hours. If they continue to read at the same speeds, will they both finish the 215-page book after 5 total hours of reading? Let's start with Pam. If we start with Pam, we could use her information to find out how many pages she is able to read in 1 hour. In order to do that, we want to take her pages and divide it by the time. So for Pam, 126 pages divided over 3 hours tells us that Pam can read 42 pages per hour. And if her speed is consistent, we can take her unit rate of 42 pages per hour and multiply it by 5 hours. By doing this, it tells us that in 5 hours, Pam can read 210 pages. Unfortunately, that's not 215 pages, so no, Pam cannot meet this goal. Now let's do the same process and find for Zach. Start out with pages per hour. We know that Zach can read 180 pages in 4 hours. If we divide this to his unit rate, we find that Zach can read 45 pages per hour. So if he can read 45 pages in an hour, we can use this to find for 5 pages. So 45 pages per hour times the 5 hours tells us that in 5 hours, Zach can read a 225-page book. So Zach is able to meet the goal. Nora and Eli are making homemade spring rolls for a party. Nora can make 8 spring rolls in 10 minutes. Eli can make 10 spring rolls in 12 minutes. If they each make 40 spring rolls, who will finish first? We want to figure out who makes the spring rolls faster. So how long does each of these two take to make 1 spring roll? Whoever can make 1 spring roll faster is obviously going to win first. So let's start with Nora. We know that Nora can make 8 spring rolls in 10 minutes. But my question is, how long does it take her to make 1 spring roll? So we want to take Nora and we want to take her minutes and divide it by her spring rolls. This will tell us how long it takes her to make 1 spring roll. So 10 minutes divided by 8. when we do 10 minutes divided amongst the 8 spring rolls, we find that it takes Nora 1.25 minutes to make 1 spring roll. That's pretty quick. Well, let's check Eli's. Let's see how long it takes Eli to make 1 spring roll. We know that Eli takes 12 minutes to make 10 spring rolls. So if we find his unit rate per spring roll by doing 12 divided by 10, we see that it takes Eli 1.2 minutes per 1 spring roll. So Nora takes 1.25 minutes to make a spring roll. Eli takes 1.20 minutes to make 1 spring roll. This shows us that Eli is working at a faster pace, so Eli is going to finish first. As you continue on through this lesson, I want you to remember a few things. First of all, when we're dealing with a unit rate, we are dealing with finding the amount for 1. This means that the 1 is going to be in our denominator. To find the unit rate, we're going to be dividing. Whenever you're solving for 1, you're going to divide. We want to look for key terms like miles per hour for every 1 person. Keep your eye open for these things. They tell you the direction of which to divide. I want you to continue working the lessons that are in this section 2.1 in your textbook. If you don't have your textbook, I've set a copy of the full PowerPoint or a student handout of all the problems that were in the textbook that you can practice. I will put the answer keys up in 2 days so that you can check your work. If you need me, I will be online at 2:15 until 3 o'clock, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We also have online tutoring Mondays from 3:15 to 4:15 and Thursdays from 3:15 to 4:15. The help is out there if you want it and if you need it. Just join us when you need us.